What's up, guys? So we are here with my good friend Kat. So she is super into nutrition and bodybuilding. Obviously here we are a little bit more focused on CrossFit, but at the end of the day it really doesn't matter. Whatever gets you moving, that is what we are going to be focused on. So Kat is super knowledgeable in nutrition, and I am not. And I get lots of questions about nutrition all the time, and I don't feel comfortable answering them. But I do feel comfortable asking somebody that does have a lot of knowledge in nutrition about these questions, so that is what we are going to be talking about today. So quick fun fact, Kat and I met each other back in college. We both were doing our, were you doing nutrition, or what was your degree?
Yeah, it was nutrition.
Nutrition. And then I was getting my degree in kinesiology, but we both worked at Cal State's gym, which is where I actually started to like CrossFit because they make us do a CrossFit workout as initiation.
Yes.
And if you're lucky, maybe Kat will agree to do that very same CrossFit workout in another video.
Yeah. Gonna pin me down.
I think it would be very fun. It would be very fun to watch.
It'd be interesting.
That workout is pretty miserable. Kat, go ahead, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you and your backstory.
Well, hello guys. So my name is Kat, and right now I am an online nutrition and fitness coach. So I've been doing that for a little bit, doing some bodybuilding in the bikini division for like the last, I think, 5 years. It's been a while. And then before that, as Cody mentioned, we worked together as personal trainers for a while. And I studied nutrition in college, so it's been just all throughout my life. Can't get away from it, love it, so I'll be here to answer your questions.
Nice. So let's just get into it. So first, people have tons of misconceptions when it comes to like just dieting, losing weight.
Yes.
But what do you think is probably the most common misconception that you hear from clients or just people in everyday life about losing weight?
Definitely the stigma on carbs. That's the one that I constantly get emails from clients about.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you giving me so many carbs? This goes against everything I've been taught. And of course, if you watch the doctors and all these other like TV shows, you read magazines, they always tell you, cut carbs, cut carbs. So there's this big stigma that carbs are going to somehow magically make you fat, and they don't. They're very important for maintaining muscle. If you actually look at the scientific studies, you need them to maintain muscle, you need it to build muscle, and they're lower calories per gram than having like a high-fat keto diet. So it just, to me, makes more sense to eat carbs.
Yep. So, I mean, that is probably the most common one that I hear. Everyone has this misconception that carbs are bad, when really it's like, the simple carbs, all the sugary snacks, sodas, stuff like that. Those are the big culprits, the real things that you should be trying to avoid. And then, complex carbs are generally going to be good for you as long as you're not overeating them.
Right. And even with that, though, I will say that as much as we want to eat, quote unquote, clean foods, and there's reasons for that we can get into a little later, just so I don't get on a tangent.
Mm-hmm.
It is okay to have some of the sugary junk food carbs, because my main thing is adherence. I'm not going to give somebody a diet that, if they're like, hey, Kat, I need to eat ice cream every day. That's what I look forward to. That's my own vice. Have the ice cream, work around that, because if that's going to make you stick to the diet, you're going to lose the weight. It's just in moderation. Plus, we don't want to get to the point of somebody saying like, I don't feel comfortable eating bread, or I don't feel comfortable eating rice, or like the low fiber carbs, because when we start trying to get all our carb sources from vegetables and fruits and things that have a lot of high fiber, that will just wreak havoc on your digestive system, and it's just not a fun time. So yeah. It's a balance of finding the right ratios, but still having some enjoyment for the psychological factor.
Yeah. So I tell people, when people ask me what do they have to do to lose weight, I always tell them one thing, but I want to know, when it comes down to, if all you care about is losing weight, doesn't matter what way you do it, what is the number one most important thing when losing weight?
Calories are king, always.
Yep.
The bottom line is if you are eating more than you're burning, I don't care if you're on keto or whatever, you're gonna gain weight. That's just how it works.
So caloric deficit.
Yep.
100%. So for everyone out there, I had this conversation with somebody recently. They're like, oh, I'm on keto, and like that means that I'm gonna lose weight. I'm like, why? They're like, because I'm not eating carbs. I'm like, that doesn't work like that. You have to eat less than your body needs. You have to be in a caloric deficit, and he didn't understand that at all.
Yeah.
He did not understand that. So for everyone out there, do not think just that we're saying you can eat junk food and as long as you're in a caloric deficit, that's good. Well, while you still could eat junk food and lose weight, I think there's a study out there where a guy ate Twinkies.
Yes.
He ate Twinkies for 30 days and lost weight. Okay, so he was in a caloric deficit eating Twinkies, he lost weight. But what we're saying is you need to eat in moderation to lose weight. You have to make sure you're eating like, what is it? I think it's 500 calories under your caloric need every day to lose a pound a week.
Yeah, generally speaking, that can come from, also doing extra cardio or workouts. Just as long as somehow you're making a deficit of 500 calories, then you should lose about a pound a week.
Yeah. The other thing that I hear, another common misconception is it's more important. Exercising is more important for creating that caloric deficit than maybe nutrition is.
It's both. It's kind of like they say, you can't out-exercise a bad diet. You really need to have a balance of both. In the past, I still don't enjoy cardio. That's like for my workouts that I do not enjoy. I love weightlifting. I hate cardio. But at the end of the day, as a bodybuilding competitor, I learned that I'm gonna have to do cardio while I'm dieting. It's just, you need all of those components, especially if you're going for a certain physique look, or we're trying to really focus on maintaining muscle mass. You're gonna have to do all of those things. That's optimal for health.
Okay. What about spot reduction? And for people who don't know what spot reduction means targeting places on your body to specifically lose weight.
It's a myth. There is some evidence that shows that, you can spot reduce, but it's such an insignificant amount that it's not noticeable. So essentially, it's kind of a pointless thing. Obviously, you can build more muscle in certain areas and change your physical appearance that way. But, for example, working out abs is not going to make your stomach flatter if you're not losing the body fat. If anything, it's maybe going to make your stomach a little thicker because you're building up the muscle in that area underneath the fat.
So if you want to have abs, you have to lose fat.
Yep, exactly.
That simple. So now there's a very popular diet that is it's a version of keto, but it is called the carnivore diet.
Okay.
Where I don't know if you are familiar with this.
I've heard of so many diets that are
The carnivore diet is pretty much, you're literally eating just meat.
Oh.
Okay. You're eating, I'm not joking, just meat. No leafy greens, nothing. It's just meat. What is your take on this?
If it sounds a little crazy, it's a little crazy. So you're still gonna need some vitamins and minerals and micronutrients, I should say. It doesn't sound sustainable to me. It doesn't sound like it would be ideal for anybody. So that's a concerning one to me. I don't know if people do that long term or...
There are people that have been doing it long term, but I don't know that much about it. I'm gonna be looking more into it, but honestly,
don't do it. That's honestly, the lesson. Don't do it.
I like to eat meat, but I like to eat meat with some carbs, with I like to eat some chicken with some rice, or some steak with some potatoes. I'm just not a fan of in keto diets in general. Do you get a lot of people that want to ask you about keto diets?
All the time. I have a lot of clients that, when I do give them more carbs, they're just like, can we cut my carbs down? I just would rather have a higher fat diet. But, like I mentioned before, carbs are 9 calories per gram. fats are 9 calories per gram, carbs are 4. So if I'm going to give somebody a high fat diet, it's probably going to be higher calories. Not to mention, you know, fats are a little bit more dense. They don't take up as much space in the stomach, so you're not going to feel as full. And traditionally, a keto diet is supposed to be low in protein. It's just not. It's one of those things that a lot of people don't realize, that keto was invented for people in a clinical setting. You know, it's designed for people that are diabetic. It's designed for also sometimes in the cases of like PCOS or certain clinical applications, it's not meant to be a forever sort of thing. And even then you're supposed to transition out of it a certain way. There's no actual benefit to keto over any other kind of diet. That's the bottom line. And as far as when I'm looking at clients that are trying to improve their body composition and, you know, they're working out and they're doing all of this stuff, keto doesn't make sense. You know, we need carbs to raise our blood sugar to get that anabolic effect so that we're building or preserving muscle in a deficit. So sure, if you want to, you know, not optimize muscle building or preservation, then yeah, why not keto? But it's not a sustainable thing. Our body's meant to run on carbs. That's its preferred fuel source. So I just would rather give somebody something that's sustainable, going to help them build the most muscle, and just really fuel their body in the right way.
But if somebody like came to you and they still wanted nutrition coaching in there, but they were like very adamant that they wanted to do it keto, I mean, it's still they would still be able to lose weight as long as they're in a caloric deficit. And
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would try. I've had this situation before where I've had a client come to me and they're like, I don't feel comfortable with this. So my job as a coach is to make sure that I'm meeting somebody wherever they're at. So if they're like, I don't feel comfortable, I'm going to give them the education. I'm going to give them, you know, the research and let them know and let them see that, well, you know, empirical evidence says this is why we need carbs. Try and talk them through it. But I know that psychologically, if it just makes somebody so uncomfortable, then I need to meet them where they're at. So I might do a higher fat diet that's, you know, moderate carb in that case. But yeah, ultimately caloric deficit. But we do still have to consider, we don't want somebody to rebound after they're on a diet, because most people, they're not going to know how to transition out of keto to everyday life once they reach their goal. And that's where you see that, you know, people regaining all their weight and then some.
Yep.